Joining me now is Christin Slough. She's the wife of Paul Slough, one of the Blackwater contractors who you just heard about. He was convicted for killing unarmed Iraqi citizens when responding to that car bomb attack in 2007 and is in a U.S. federal prison as we speak. Christin, thank you for being here tonight. Now, prosecutors and many in the media say this is a clear-cut case of American contractors stepping over the line, that they are still subject to U.S. law in foreign countries, and they have to suffer the consequences. And you say?
Well, I say that the law applies to everyone, but unfortunately what did not happen was the law here. This investigation was performed by an Iraqi police colonel that was tied to terrorist organizations. The FBI didn't show up until 3 weeks later. They accepted this investigation that was done carte blanche and presented it to a civilian jury in Washington, D.C. 7 years later. They put lipstick on a pig and presented it as fact. And that is a real problem for us. As a matter of fact, the case was dismissed after the first 3 years for reckless rights violations and only came back after political pressure from the Iraqi government.
Now, you just heard some military leaders, McCraven and so forth, saying basically this would be a terrible precedent for the president to do this. What do you say?
Well, I don't think that the president should create wholesale pardon process for people who are accused of crime just because they're service members. But I do think he has not only the right, but the responsibility to look at things like that when we've seen so much precedence of prior administrations using the DOJ and the FBI as, a hit job against their enemies or people that serve their political agenda.
Your husband had an incredible military career.
He did.
Army Commendation Medals, Good Conduct Medals, obviously a lot of service ribbons. Air Force Reserve Medal, Combat Infantry. He had a pretty incredible career. So
yeah,
the thought would be he just snapped.
Yeah,
that's
the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. You aren't one person every single day of your life and a totally different person on one day of your life. Ever before and ever since, the most serious violation he's had is traffic violations. He's been in prison for 4 years, and he's used that time to better himself, to read, to lead people to Christ. He has a purpose in this. We believe he has a purpose in being in the place where he is now, but we want that season to be over. We want God to restore him to our family. My husband uses these little origami books to make little animals out of dollar bills for my daughter every week when we drive to go visit him. So we believe in God. We believe there's a purpose to all of this, and we believe he uses all things for good.
But we're ready in your heart of heart believe he did not fire on unarmed Iraqi civilians.
My 15-year anniversary with this man is tomorrow, and I can tell you with every amount of confidence from day one until day now that he did not hurt people intentionally, that were not a threat to him.
So they were taking incoming fire and had to respond?
Absolutely.
Why did the FBI not show up for 3 weeks later?
Well,
why is that?
I can't really answer that.
Is it kind of an anti-Blackwater, Eric Prince kind of deal? Because there was a big push against Blackwater at that period of time. I was in Iraq in 2006 for like a week, and I was hearing, oh, Blackwater. And I was like, okay, so there was a lot of anti-Blackwater sentiment building.
Absolutely. So, the crazy thing about this is my husband gets back from this event and we're kind of talking about it later. And he said, the weird thing is the actual event itself was like a normal day at the office. What wasn't a normal day at the office was the response to it. And I believe
a lot of people were killed. I mean, normal day at the office.
Well, unfortunately, that was during the surge in 2007 in Baghdad and Nazir Square.
All right, we got to go, but Pete Buttigieg came out slamming the president on pardons and so forth. But we're going to be following this very, very closely. We really appreciate your joining us.
Thank you.